Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, guys. Welcome to Fine Print. This is our Sunday show, where basically every single Sunday, take a look at a poem that you have sent us and we're analyzing. Our goal isn't really to critique, it's not really a workshop. It's more just kind of seeing what is there in the poem that has been given to us, seeing what's going on with the speaker and things. Although this episode is going to be a little bit different because I think sometimes when we're approaching our own work, we're in it, we wrote it. We have a hard time kind of seeing past our own perspective and things like that. So, what I thought would be interesting for today is just kind of finding some ways to try and approach your work with some fresh perspectives and some ways to do that to try to draw out things that maybe you may or may not have noticed about your own piece. We're going to try to explore that today. And if it goes horribly, horribly wrong, my apologies. This is not my own poem today. Today, this is a poem that has been given to us by Aspen underscore the tree underscore Greenwood. So we do want to thank them for allowing us to look at their work. And this isn't even to say that this piece has issues and needs to be revisited or things like that. It's just more something that I was reading the piece and I thought it was really interesting how different things could stand out in different ways than the original structure did. Just playing around, for instance, with line breaks, playing around with ordering. I have not changed really any of the words. All I've done was kind of move some stuff around. I just want to see what you guys think, and maybe this will give you ideas when you're approaching your own work. So let's take a look at what the original is. So I'm going to share my screen with you all. So this is again a piece by Aspen the Tree Greenwood. She asked me to bring the stars for her. So I came back with a bag of glitter. It's cheaper, and I won't get arrested. He said I stole his heart. I wondered why he left it unguarded. I put it back and gave him a padlock. Do not let people walk all over you unless you're a bridge or a carpet. I don't make the rules. All right, so give that up once more for Aspen the Tree Greenwood. Thanks again for letting us look at your piece. So some things that I think already kind of stand out to me. Let's just giving the poem the eye test. Just looking at it visually, what you see going on. So we're dealing with some very, very short lines. In fact, some lines having a single word. I'm looking at unguarded, or even just two words like I wondered, uh, unless you're a bridge. Okay, so we're dealing with very short lines pretty consistently. Uh, some interesting relationship tension. So we have a tension between the speaker and the she. Something's going on there. So she asked me to do something and I did it. Um, speakers paying attention to price of things, right? With it's cheaper. And are also arrested. So we have a very practical speaker versus kind of this idealistic she in a way. Also, the sense of a speaker who's also kind of seems to be afraid to a degree. Later, we get the he said I stole his heart. So we're seeing a speaker now with a different relationship dynamic. So earlier we had the she, now we have the he. So we're introducing a lot of characters kind of in a small space, but not necessarily getting a whole lot of information about them. Um, he said I stole his heart, and the speaker again kind of in their own way. Like it's interesting how the speaker in this poem really comes off. The speaker has kind of a lot of there's like these romantic interests or like these people that are suggesting kind of deeper relationships with, but the speaker's almost uh it seems like there's a disconnect between the speaker and these other people. Between the speaker and the she with the whole star situation, because the speaker's like, well, that's just cheaper. I don't want to get arrested. And then he said I stole his heart. I wondered why he left it unguarded. So again, we're the speaker's almost kind of living in their own world, and then the other characters are kind of living in theirs. Um, and then we get this kind of very almost like commanding soapbox-ish, like don't let people walk all over you unless you're a bridge or a carpet. And then at the same time, the speaker shaking off agency, like, hey, I don't make the rules. And that's kind of how we have the end. So I think it's really interesting the distancing that the speaker is doing in this piece between the speaker and the she, the speaker and the he, and then even like the speaker and the reader to a degree with that last part. There's a lot of distancing. Aided by the fact that again there's even more distancing too, in the sense that we're not, from a reader's perspective, we're not really allowed to enter into these relationships on any sort of super deep level, right? We're just not given a whole lot of information. The speaker's not telling us the whole story here, which I think is interesting as well. Um, but anyways, I want to get to kind of the main thing I wanted to get into is that, so let's say you have a piece, and I'm not saying that's the case with this piece here. I'm just using it as an example because I thought some interesting things came up. You have a piece that you're trying to kind of re-enter. You're trying to get like a fresh perspective. But it's hard. Like, how do you break from your own viewpoint? You know what I mean? So one technique that you can do, and we did this a lot when I was at Cave Canem, is we did something like this. And before I even really explain it, let's just kind of read through this. I don't make the rules or a carpet. Unless you are a bridge, do not let people walk all over you. I gave him a padlock and put it back unguarded. I wonder why he left it. He said I stole his heart. I won't get arrested. It was cheap. I came back with a bag of glitter. And when she asks me to, I bring the stars. So what happened here? What we did, I'm just going to copy and paste this, was we just reversed it, right? Try to make some space for that. I think I know what happened. Okay. And I want this to go after, sorry. Formatting. Formatting. Bear with me. Okay. So now I have shown the original versus what happened. And so one of the things we did here. Oh, what's up? What's up, Matthias? Our co-host is chilling on the stream. Good to see you, sir. I'm actually going to see Matthias in a minute. Look at that picture. It's like a Button poetry picture. Is that from Button? Matthias says, "Oh, nice, the backwards thing." Yeah, because I was at a workshop at Cave Canem, and we were working with Tracy Morris, and she literally did this with like 3 people's poems in a row, where all we did was we just reverse it, and it just opened up entirely different things. And to me, it's kind of getting a very similar effect. I think it's doing some interesting things. I think it starts very unbalanced, but I think that in some ways that can be an intriguing way to start a poem, in the sense that normally you want to start a poem with grounding, but I don't know what's happening at the start. Like, if I don't make the rules or a carpet, but that's preparing me that I'm probably going to be introduced to a situation about the rules. Matthias says yes, it was from Button. It's that black on black on black. I don't make the rules that are carpet unless you are a bridge and let people walk all over you. So what it does is we've reversed the ordering, obviously, but we've also reversed, instead of ending on kind of, I'm just calling it a soapbox just because I can't think of a better term right now. In the original, we kind of end on like, don't do this, unless this, but now we're kind of putting that first. So we're getting that out of the way, and then we're getting into this specific situation that kind of derived from. So by switching that staging, I think it also can change kind of the way that your reader approaches it. And then we kind of get into the interiority. So it kind of creates almost it creates more of that funnel. So instead of like starting specific and then ending broad, we start a little broad, but then kind of get into why are we making this statement? Because do not let people walk all over you. So then from a reader's perspective, now I'm spending the time. What's the connection between the bridge and don't let people walk all over you in these specific situations? Because you're telling me if you reverse the order, you're like, okay, this is an important concept. You want me to pay attention to this, but why? Well, now you get the explanation. I think it just kind of draws out tensions in a different way, which I think can. I don't know. I think the effect that has on your reader changes. I think when we look at the original, she asked me to bring the stars for her. In terms of images and things like that, that's an image we probably have heard before, kind of in cliche. And even the first line here kind of starts off that way too, but then you get or a carpet. So then you're kind of starting to invert expectations a little bit. And even like we've heard the statement too, do not let people walk all over you. But by starting it with like, unless you are a bridge, that also inverts the statement as well. So we're kind of battling with these kind of common expressions and like these kind of cliche statements, but we're subverting them to a degree to try to keep them a little bit fresh. And I think that kind of is able to stand out more when the poem gets reversed. But again, the lines themselves there were some little tweaks we had to do just to make the grammar and things like that, but the lines themselves are pretty much the same. It's just looking at the poem backwards. It also allows us so we have that image that we started with about the stars. Like she asked me to bring the stars. Okay, again, an image that we probably have heard before. And then by switching the staging of that, instead of saying she asked me to bring the stars, by adding, for instance, and when she asks me to do what, I bring the stars. So then it kind of, I think that there's a slight delay that's caused by even just like adding that little when there. So yeah, I think just kind of playing around when you have your own piece, if you're trying to get a fresh perspective on it, one thing you can do is just flip it. Just see what happens. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but it might allow you to kind of identify, oh, this is attention. This is something I want to explore more. Oh, this is something that seems to start coming out more when I do it that way. So that's just something I was just looking at this piece, and that's something that kind of immediately stood out to me. Again, taking all the same stuff and just changing to flipping it. Literally, that's literally all we do is just flip it. Another way that you can take a look at a piece and see what happens if you play around with it a little bit is by playing around with. We're going to do a dramatic pause because I see Bella's here. Bella, can you send me? Do you have PayPal or Venmo or something? Because I know Bella had some car issues that have been resolved, so we're happy about that. And I keep meaning to ask you, but I keep forgetting. If you can email me that'd be really, really helpful. But Bella does ask us a very important question. We find that flipping ever reverses the meaning of a poem. It can certainly change the meaning. It can change the meaning of a poem. But again, what we're trying to do is we're exploring. Is kind of the way I would put it. It's not to say that we're going to stick with the reverse version. It's more just trying to see what are some of the tensions that kind of come out if I do that. Because maybe there are going to be some things you realize about your piece that maybe if you kept the original staging, you might not have noticed. So for instance, in this piece, what are some things that kind of stood out to me? One of the things that happens here is, for instance, the meaning changes here, right? I gave him a padlock and put it back unguarded. I wonder why he left it. So just adds kind of an element of strangeness. Because now, instead of about the heart, the thing becomes about a literal padlock. So that's another thing that I thought was really interesting about the reversal is that if we go to the original, he said I stole his heart. So again, we have this expression we've probably heard before, right? This person stole my heart. Something we've heard of before. Whereas in this, um, the padlock suddenly gets a lot more attention sooner. I gave him a padlock. That's a bit unusual, and that's able to kind of jump out more because it comes off sooner. And with the line break, it kind of this is the first time in the poem where we have like the I doing something to another person. So that also allows it to kind of stand out a little bit more as well. Um, and also it delays the heart part. I think it also that allows the play. Another change that happens is it allows this play between the stealing and the arresting. So before, the arresting was because of the glitter in the stealing of stars, or the implied stealing of stars, right? But now with the other order, something I thought was really interesting was when you do the reverse, the play suddenly becomes about stealing and the arresting because of the heart. Because originally, I came back with a bag glitter, it's cheaper and I won't get arrested. He said I stole his heart. So the arresting doesn't really, the connection between the arresting and the heart, yeah, I mean, it's kind of there. But I think in this sort of staging, if you reverse it, it becomes even more apparent. Here he said I stole his heart, I won't get arrested. So little things like that, when you reverse it, suddenly become apparent in different ways. Another thing I was going to say is that another thing we did was, I want to make a new document just to make it easier to compare. Give me one moment. I want to reshare my screen a different way, but we will make this work. I'm going to share my entire screen. You're going to see an infinite window. My apologies. Okay, hopefully you can see that. All right. And let's take the original. So this is our original poem. Again, Aspen, the tree greenwood. My apologies if this is very different to what you were expecting. If I'm being unfair to your piece in any way, not the intention at all. If you want me to take it the stream down, you can let me know, and I'm happy to do that. I do think these sorts of things are interesting. So one of the things I did here, again, my goal was not to change words. Before we had to change some words just to make the ordering work, but by and large, the words were like 98% the same. In this case, everything's the same. What we did was just playing around with different line breaks and different word ordering. So I think when you have your piece finished, whoa, that's crazy. Let's get rid of that. Give me a sec. Sorry, had a crazy view. Okay, so one of the things here, or when you have a piece that you're editing, something I would play around with line breaks. Something else I played around with, I noticed that there were a lot of like punctuation things, so I just took out the commas just to kind of see what you'd be left with. Because I think sometimes punctuation kind of limit your reading, whereas when you take it out, it can open things up, sometimes in unexpected ways. So she asked me to bring the stars for her, so I came back with a bag of glitter. It's cheaper and I won't get arrested. He said I stole his heart. I wondered why he left it unguarded. I put it back and gave him a padlock. Do not let people walk all over you unless you are a bridge or a carpet. I don't make the rules. All right. So that's kind of the slightly different version here. So a couple things that happened here. So she asked me to bring. I thought one thing that does is it kind of allows attention to move to the next line a little bit more. She asked me to bring what? The stars for her, so I came. Ending on came. You have a relationship between a speaker. You don't know if the speaker is male or female. And the she came. So now we're adding a little bit of sexual tension there. Back with a bag of glitter. Also there as well. I like the sound. I think the sounds also can stand out. I like the sound of the acoustics of this line. I thought were interesting. Back with a bag of glitter. Back da 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 da. Um, it's cheaper, and I won't get arrested. He said I stole. So again, I playing with the line breaks. I think putting arrested and stole together on the same line again plays more with that tension more directly than having them on separate lines. Um, I wondered why he left it unguarded. So one of the things in the originals, we had these really short lines. Um, I wondered why he left it unguarded versus like he left it unguarded. In some ways, to me, it kind of changes the tone, right? So by playing around with line breaks, you might find that your tone changes. To me, this feels a lot more accusatory. Like he left it unguarded. Um, I put it back and gave him a padlock and gave him a padlock. Do not. I think one of the things that we see with the original is the line breaks are very I don't know if the word's like grammatical. Um she asked me to, that kind of feels like, bring the stars for her. So I came back with a bag of glitter. It's cheaper and I won't get arrested. He said I stole his heart. That one's a little longer than usual. I wondered why he left it unguarded. I put it back and gave him a padlock. Do not let people walk. That one's a little long. All over you, unless you're a bridge or a carpet. I'll make the rules. So the rhythm's very, very regular, whereas I think something you may find by playing around with your line breaks, you may have opportunities to play around with tension and things. So maybe having like a super short that didn't necessarily happen here, but that's something you could play around with. Um, Probably the best example of that would be here, like a padlock. Do not. That's a lot punchier than a lot of the other lines. Like she asked me to bring, that's softer. The stars for her, so I came back with a bag of glitter. It's cheaper, and I won't get arrested. He said I stole. It's like that a padlock. Do not is a lot punchier than a lot of the other um, lines. You also get some weird lines too, like you unless you are. Um, Also, the comparison, like the contrast between a bridge or a carpet, uh, unifying that in a single line. So, all this to say, when you're looking at a poem, you're again trying to see some fresh perspectives, like just moving stuff around. Maybe going like super, super long, something like that, or adding some weird spaces, or um, again, just some more examples, just to draw out different tensions and things. So I would say, experiment with your line lengths, experiment with your line breaks. For instance, again, I'll go back to this: get arrested, and get arrested. He said I stole. Like having that sense of arresting and stole. There might be some relationships that you've already established in your original poem that if you play around with the line breaks, you may be able to draw those tensions out that maybe you didn't notice before. Um, for instance, the putting back and gave him. So I'm able to kind of play around with the verbs here. Um, the you with the you, the bridge and the carpet, things like that. So that's another just little thing you can experiment with too, is play around with different line breaks. Play around also with punctuation, you know, because sometimes that punctuation, sometimes it's slowing you down, sometimes it limits the reading. It can only be interpreted a single way. Whereas when you remove it, you can open up the interpretation a little bit. Um, so for instance, not having the commas here is able to potentially open up some different tensions between the speaker and the she. Um, Also, like here, like get arrested, he said. So it almost makes it sound like that the he said what? This he said get arrested, but then it could also be that the he said I stole. So that's able to kind of get played around with a little bit more too when you don't have the punctuation there. Yeah. So let me know what you think. Let me know of other approaches that you have with your own pieces when you're trying to read your own work and try to get some fresh perspectives, trying to escape from your own mindset, from your own eyes. What are some ways that you do that you found to be effective? The two ways that we really discussed tonight, we've discussed just flipping your poem. So instead of going first line, second line, third line, maybe go last line, second to last line, third to last line, and flipping that. And then the other thing we talked about as well is just playing around for line breaks. And then the kind of little bonus tip is also just removing the punctuation and seeing what tensions come out. And then maybe even if you still want punctuation, maybe re-putting the punctuation back in different places and just kind of seeing what stands out. But again, if you have some other techniques that you use to help you enter in a piece in a new way, be sure to let me know. Thanks to our friend. I want to make sure I get their name right. Aspen, the tree, Greenwood, for letting us explore the piece. Again, letting us use this as a model for just exploring those different ideas. Again, none of the things we talked about have to be done to the piece naturally. I thought the piece had lots of already bears really interesting tensions. Again, the distancing that the speaker is doing between the speaker in the reader, and the speaker in the she, and the speaker in the he, I found very intriguing from the relationship dynamic perspective. But yeah, thank you guys so much for your time. We're going to be back on Tuesday. We're actually going to be back on Tuesday a couple times, just a heads up. We're going to be meeting in the morning with the Poet's Life. We're going to be talking about strategies for creating your own poetry platform on social media, including a website called School that I think you guys will like. And then in the evening, we'll be doing our live stream, me and Matthias, who actually stopped by earlier. Look at that button poetry picture. All right, thank you guys for spending a little bit of time with me. Once more, my name is Jeff, Runs of Breath. That's actually something I say a lot. I teach pronunciation, guys, so we do a lot of pronunciation stuff. Anyways, I'll see you guys later. You guys have a good day, have a good night, have a good afternoon. I'll see you guys on Tuesday.